Hi everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. As you guys know, I love full-size trucks and full-size SUVs, especially if they are body-on-frame vehicles like this one, which is a 2024 GMC Yukon in what they call the Ultimate Edition. And this one comes with a beautiful 6.2-liter V8 engine. You guys also know how much I love V8 engine vehicles. And you also know that in this market, full-size SUVs, there are many competitors, including the Toyota Sequoia. So how would you compare the Toyota Sequoia to this one, which is one of the most popular full-size SUVs? So let me explain to you 7 key differences between the GMC Yukon and Toyota Sequoia so you can decide which one is the right one for you. Let's go. Welcome back. The first major difference between GMC Yukon and many of its General Motors products compared to Toyota Sequoia is the powertrain, the engine specifically, because we can still get V8 engines in the General Motors product, including this one, which is a 6.2-liter V8 engine, huge, massive V8, good for 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. Compare that to Toyota Sequoia, which has kind of downsized the engine from a former V8 engine to a 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6 engine with hybrid, and that one has quite a capable power and torque output as well. But of course, the feel is very different. Now, granted, Toyota has really tried to calibrate and tune the engine so that it kind of feels and sounds like a V8 engine, but still, when you drive this thing, you have no doubt there's a big V8 underneath the hood because the feeling is so different. For example, when I'm driving this vehicle, that beautiful, naturally aspirated feel when you step on the gas, well, that is a very different kind of feel from a 3.4 twin-turbo V6 engine with a hybrid system in the Sequoia, which spools up pretty quickly in terms of torque because the torque happens at very low RPM, so you get a really good grunt feel, but it doesn't quite feel as organic or as natural as this V8 engine. And of course, there's a huge difference in terms of fuel efficiency, so there is a disadvantage of having a V8, but just in terms of road feel and driving character, there's no question that nothing beats a good old-fashioned V8 engine, and that is the first and one of the biggest difference between the Sequoia and the Yukon. By the way, don't forget the Sequoia only comes in one power plant, which is the 3.4 twin-turbo V6 with hybrid, whereas Yukon and its closely related cousin, Tahoe, can come in many different types of powertrain, including diesel and also 6-cylinder engines. So you get lots of choices, and that's also another major point and major difference between Sequoia and the General Motors approach, because here they want to give you many different choices. With the Toyota Sequoia, you get one power plant choice. The second thing I want to talk about in terms of difference between Sequoia and Yukon is the overall manufacturing quality and also long-term reliability. So let's first check the quality as I always do. On this Yukon, I'm going to do a quick gap check, and this is about 4 millimeter here, 3.9, and the alignment is not bad, not world class, but not bad. And the gap here is 4 millimeter and 3.8. And then a little bit wider here at 4.1 millimeters. So in terms of gap, the Sequoia is a little bit better, but not much better because the Sequoia also has a pretty wide gap. And in terms of panel alignment and overall manufacturing quality of the sheet metals, I think it's about the same as Sequoia. Maybe the Sequoia is a little bit better, but everything do line up. And then more importantly though, in terms of paint job, I think General Motors does a really good job. All the GM products I've reviewed recently have fantastic paint job with minimal orange peel, really good gloss, and has a really good depth. And so I think I would say the paint job is about the same as Sequoia, maybe even a little bit better than Sequoia. And then in terms of the panel gap and alignment, maybe Sequoia is a little bit better. But I would say it's a bit of a tie between the Sequoia and this one in terms of the exterior quality. In terms of long-term reliability, I still think that the Sequoia would probably be better than GM. But as you guys know, that 3.4 turbo has some issues here and there. So I'm not quite convinced yet that it is definitely better than GM products, because these powertrains have been around for a long time and they also did have some problems in the past. But generally speaking, they have been reliable, and of course it's easy to service because it's a proven V8 engine that's being in the GM lineup for a very, very long time. So I think in terms of long-term reliability, maybe the Toyota products will do a little bit better overall. But if you're not keeping the car for a very long time and you're looking at maybe a duration of, let's say, 3 to 5 years, or maybe even up to 6 to 7 years, I would say the reliability in the shorter segment, it's about the same between the Sequoia and the GMC products. The third point might be a very important one for me anyway, and that is to do with the actual steering feel and steering character on the road. For some reason, all the GM products in terms of full-size trucks have been able to replicate the hydraulic power steering feel, even though they've migrated to electric power steering. In fact, I don't think anyone else can match the GM's feel when it comes to the feel of the steering. It has a good feedback, lots of weight and hefty feel to it. And when you're driving, you almost think that this is a hydraulic power steering, not electric power steering. And that's how good the steering feel is. I think it's a strength of all GM products, not just the Yukon and the Tahoe, but also their full-size trucks. So I'm really impressed with the steering effort and steering feel. Something that's a little bit of a weakness when it comes to Toyota Sequoia and some of the Toyota models, but they tend to be very light, not too much feedback, not bad, but not anywhere as good as the GM product that has a very good solid steering feel. The fourth difference is not just the engine choices, but General Motors products in general provide many choices and many options when it comes to trims. You can get a shorter wheelbase, longer wheelbase. You can get this one here, which is a GMC product, but you can also get Chevrolet Tahoe, or you can even move up the Cadillac Escalade. So there are many different variations of the same platform with many choices for everything from engine to interior to options and features. Something that maybe Toyota doesn't do as much because they tend to consolidate things into a single platform with minimal choices to simplify manufacturing and simplify product developments. So if you want to be able to pick from many different options and be able to choose in terms of size, in terms of engine, in terms of interior, then General Motors products offer a lot more choices compared to Toyota Sequoia, which offers one configuration only with one engine choice, although within that you do get different trim levels. So that's something you have to decide whether you want more flexibility like you will get in the Yukon, or you're okay with a consolidated configuration like in the Toyota Sequoia. The fifth difference is in terms of how GM approaches luxury compared to Toyota. As you guys know, Sequoia is available in a flagship model called Capstone. It's the first time they offered it, and it is actually quite luxurious and definitely above and beyond what we expected from Sequoia when you think about some of the older models. But if you look at this GMC Yukon Ultimate, wow, how could you possibly beat this combination? You get a beautiful leather with what looks like a kind of baseball stitching, which integrates well with the brown leather, but you also get a bit of white stitching as well mixed in. And you get a wood trims over here, also in the doors, and just enough of the chrome and black chrome to make the whole thing look very upscale. This thing looks expensive. It is actually an expensive vehicle as well. And I think in terms of interior design, GMC does definitely a better job than the Toyota Sequoia. And nothing wrong with the Capstone interior, because that's also a very nice interior and beautiful interior as well, but it doesn't quite look as rich and as expensive and as special and exclusive as this Yukon Ultimate. Even if you were to look at some other GMC products, such as their mid-size trucks, they do the interior really well. I think that's one of their strengths. So I love the interior of this. I wish Toyota would stretch a little bit more and give us a truly luxury feel like this one, but for now, GMC wins. The sixth point is a bit more difficult to explain, but it's to do with value. What is the definition of value? Well, it includes the price of buying the vehicle, but also resale value, because if you can get better resale value, then it might not matter that it costs a little bit more to buy in the beginning. So from that definition, which one will provide a better overall life cycle value over a period of time you own? Well, when it comes to General Motors products, most likely you'll get some more discount just because there are much more options available, there are more inventory, and they have been around for a long time. So it is actually possible to get discount on something like a GMC Yukon. Maybe not this one here, because this is a top of line model. Whereas on a Toyota Sequoia, because it's so hard to get and there are so few of them being manufactured, most likely you won't get discount. In fact, you may have to pay markup in some cases. So when it comes to initial buying pricing, you'll definitely have a better chance of getting discount on a GMC product, not so much on a Toyota product. However, Sequoia proven to have very good resale value over a longer period of time. So when you sell it 3, 4, 5 years down the road, perhaps the Sequoia will have a little bit higher resale value, but not significantly higher than GMC product, because these tends to have a pretty good resale value as well, especially when it comes to Yukon, let's say compared to a Tahoe. So this next point is a bit of a toss-up in terms of which is better. Also keep in mind that because there are so many different models of the Yukon offered, you can buy a basic model for a much lower price, or you can buy the ultimate model at a much higher price. Whereas in Sequoia, maybe the range between the cheapest and most expensive, not as much. So you have many different options to think about, which offers the best long-term value. A little hard to say. I think in terms of initial purchasing price, this one offers better value. In terms of long-term, maybe the Sequoia will offer better value. The seventh and the last point is an important one, And this is what I call the overall package feel. So when you take into account the engine performance, the transmission, the braking, the suspension, the steering effort, the steering feel, and put all of them together, and which of the body-on-frame SUVs, full-size SUVs, have the best overall feel? And that answer is this one here, GMC Yukon, especially with this ultimate package with the 22-inch wheels. This one has a very confident, very refined feel, and it accelerates well because of the V8 engine. And when I drive it, I just honestly just enjoy driving it, particularly because of the thing I mentioned earlier, which is to do with the steering effort and the steering feel. Despite being electric power steering, feels like a hydraulic. And to be honest, no other manufacturer does a better job than GMC and Chevrolet for that matter in terms of creating this best package overall. Ford, as you know, makes most popular SUVs and trucks, but sometimes they feel a little bit unfinished. And Toyota makes a really good truck as well in terms of Tundra and Sequoia, but their steering effort is light and they feel a little bit light duty compared to something like this one. This one feels a lot more heavy duty. So my hat's off to General Motors, whether it's a Chevrolet or GMC, in creating a truck and body-on-frame SUV that I think are most desirable, at least in terms of the driving feel and the overall package. These are not cheap anymore, especially this one. But you know what, when I drive it, I have a smile on my face because I really enjoy driving it and I look forward to driving this vehicle every time I get onto it. So that's my last and the seventh point I really want to talk about, which is at the end of the day, which of these full-size SUVs would I want to drive? If I want to enjoy driving and enjoy taking people around in this big SUV, it's definitely the GMC Yukon Denali that I'm driving right now. So in conclusion, which one do I like better? Well, I have to admit, I fell in love with this GMC Yukon Ultimate. Beautiful vehicle with a great V8 engine, naturally aspirated, and perhaps one of the best steering feel in the market. So at least on the surface, in terms of drivability, in terms of driving character, I will definitely take this one over the Toyota Sequoia. But if I'm keeping a vehicle for a very long time, let's say 10 years or longer, and I want something that has a good resale value and a good long-term reliability, perhaps the Sequoia still has a bit of upper hand. So I'm kind of torn. But if I'm only going to keep it for, let's say, 3 to 5 years, I probably will pick this one over Sequoia just because of the drivability and how much I love the interior and the driving feel and driving character that are a notch above the Sequoia. So let me know in the comments below which one you like better and whether you think I have a fair assessment in providing 7 different key differences between the Sequoia and the Yukon. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up, make some comments, and if you haven't done so yet, would you kindly subscribe as well. Until next video, I'm signing off for now. Thank you so much.